people love, yeah.
Hey, I've got Athena here and Jason joining me from Canada. And I met Athena, it would have been just over a year ago, maybe longer. Maybe it's been a while. Anyway, yeah, it's 2 years ago. I met Athena because I heard through a friend that she was doing some remote work, some online group doing plant dieta, which maybe we'll get into a little bit in this conversation. And I wanted to bring her and bring Jason on this podcast because working with Athena has been, it was a short time that we were together, but it was a really powerful time. And there was a lot of learning and growth packed in. And we met during a time that was it was a pretty difficult time in my life. I was just kind of coming out of a really traumatic situation. So that's how we're connected. And yeah, tell us more.
Oh, yeah, so sweet.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. It was always, I remember when I first met you and I sang to you and I could see your big spirit. And it was like all this light and roses came out because we were doing the rose dieta. And I was like, oh, nice to meet again. That's how I felt when we met. It was like, nice to see you again, old friend. So, yeah, I feel super grateful to be here. And I wanted my love Jason to be here. He's been supporting me in a lot of my medicine work and plant dietas. And so we're happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about today. Do you want me to introduce Jason?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Jason, or maybe I'll introduce myself. So, hey, everybody. I'm not the best at this.
I'll go.
You know.
I instantly recognized you just in the last moment that we started talking. And I think that's like a really important feature here, is because talking about as if death is a theme that we'll be discussing, that there's a familiarity with anyone that we go through deep things with, that it transcends time. And in that way, we're familiar because how could we not be? I mean, I'm a true believer in the universe, and that it's like all orchestrated in this beautiful, mindful way to bring us back home here on Earth in our moments. So there's like even the word coincidence is like, is that just an English word? I don't know. But I don't really prescribe to that. And so I'm like, the living universe holds us so sweetly that there's this deep possibility in every moment, even the hard moments. And we're going through some thick ones, I think, collectively too. And when I speak, I'm speaking for the three of us, but also anyone listening and the future us's that will listen. And hopefully, I personally, I think we both want to speak in a way that is accurate if we listen to it 10 years from now. And also just saying that we're learning and we're growing and we're dynamic. And so there's no mistakes.
There's no mistakes.
And just honored to walk this path and have Athena walking this path with me is like, two people, that saying like two people can move a mountain that see eye to eye. I've always thought that has an accuracy, and lately I've been seeing it as like the inner mountains. It's not so like you can move external mountains, but it's like these inner mountains that seem unpassable, that with another person or people in a tribe or community going through things, it's like they become grains of sand on a beach, and we're like the beach and the ocean and the sky and the whole planet holding it. So I'm so grateful, and thank you for your energy and possibility.
Thank you. I feel like you just grounded us. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and maybe I'll just start by just
Space.
I just feel actually maybe we can open up space. This is what we do all the time. So that's okay with you.
Please.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Then we can just open up in a prayer and then you want me to sing Icaro? Maybe. Let's see. Yeah.
Well, it's so medicine. Like hopefully our words are medicine, but also this vibration that Athena often starts anything with in this ceremonial way. I do it like differently, and I really appreciate how Athena does it.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, so okay, so why don't we just actually yeah, well let's just call in, let's just open the grid up and yeah. And so we hold this blessing for anybody who sees this, and we bless this space, this beautiful energetic temple that we are entering into right now, protected and safe and supported and loved. And we say thank you to the great mystery, Wankatonka, Great Spirit. Thank you so much for this moment in time. Thank you to our ancestors. Thank you to all the unseen realms of support, of light, all the beloved ones that watch over us all the time. We welcome you on this beautiful solstice day. Thank you so much for bringing our dear sister Amanda into this inspiration to deeply listen to this prayer in her heart of what wants to emerge in service to a more beautiful world. And we just ask that this time here be guided by a higher force of love and guide our conversation, guide our time so that the resonance and vibration can be a blessing to all those that watch this, whoever it may be, and maybe activate a remembering place within the soul that is free and infinite. And so it is. And it is so. It is so.
That we are the medicine, each of us.
So I'll sing Icaro later. Why don't you just go into questions, what you want? Yeah. And we love you, Amanda.
Love you guys too. Okay. So coming from a place where I know you've both worked extensively with plant medicine, and a lot of people watching this channel will be familiar with plant medicine, either participating or knows that these are deep ways of going through life and going through shadow work and processing spiritual awakening. So we can kind of just jump in. If one of you or both of you wants to share a little bit about your life when you came to start working with plant medicine, what was going on? Who were you then?
Maybe I'll start. Is that good? Yeah, I feel to start. Yeah, so this channel's kind of focused on death, as you said, this transitionary period between, death and life are married together. And so ayahuasca is called Vine of the Dead, Vine of the Soul. And I would say for me, my when I first met ayahuasca many years ago was at a time of a big change, big transformation. And I ended up in the jungle and just like really recognizing that it was going to change my life in a deep way. But the weird thing is with medicine, with this, like years ago, I just feel guided to share this, is that I was actually, my brother had gone crazy. I was like trying to save his life by finding these remedies. I use the word crazy, but he actually, through smoking a lot of marijuana and other, basically just damaging his energy field through a lot of use of psychedelics without the ceremonial context, got lost in the spirit world. And so then we were just trying to find a way to save him in some way, that was whether it was natural medicine or naturopathic doctors through high vitamin, like cleaning out his blood, things like this. And so we ended up bringing him to a shaman in Venezuela, where my dad's Venezuelan. And this shaman that we were working with was like, you can't really save him, but you can save yourself, like, because you're going down you're going down the wrong road. And he's like, you're basically going to end up as a drug addict, and you're like, I see you like two ways. And it was so funny because then he started to describe, he's like, I see you in a dark room singing and people are throwing up. And I hadn't even heard of ayahuasca then, like, I don't know. And I was like, okay. But he was like, break up with your boyfriend. You need to change. Actually, you need to stop using marijuana. Like he was just like, get yourself cleaned up. And then soon after that, I met this beautiful native elder who adopted me in, and she was like very firm with me and got into more traditional ceremonies and kind of cleaned up shop, if you will. And then soon after that, I met ayahuasca, and then I married her. Soon after that, I got married. And it's been it's not an easy road, working the medicine path, but I love it so much, and I have such deep respect for it. And I'm just so grateful. Yeah, so grateful for this path. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the path of plant dieta. And so that's kind of, and with medicine, we're just coming back to the death piece, is that, you have to be comfortable with your death. Like working with ayahuasca naturally is going to bring you to, whether it's an ego death or a death of an idea. This is one of her medicines, which is why she's called the Vine of the Dead, because you get to see your temporary nature in that way. And then when we have access to our more temporary nature, we have more access to life. Yeah. More love, more joy, more medicine. So that's kind of how that's a synopsis.
That's nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I pass it to this guy?
Yeah.
You want to share your medicine path journey?
Yeah. How do I say it in a way that's alive and accurate?
Well, before you say anything, Jason has been actually like growing medicine and cooking it much longer than I've been drinking it, if you will. And so he has this very deep relationship with it, which we met actually after I had finished ayahuasca retreat, and he just finished 10 days in the jungle cooking ayahuasca. And then we met randomly at this Airbnb, like of all places. And I just had this feeling, I was like, I have to stay at this Airbnb, like can't stay anywhere else. And then I met him, and so we feel like the ayahuasca brought us together. And then it's like, she's very smart that way. So yeah.
I've had some near-death experiences, like well, the first time I remember was when I went underwater and couldn't swim, and I was just under a dock in some mucky, slippy, slidey pond, and I just was going under, sliding under. I couldn't swim, and I was like, okay, I just totally surrendered, came out of my body. I was saved before I was in any deep trouble, but I let go. And I think even before that, even as a baby, I had some out-of-body experiences, falling out of a stroller, things like that. And the gift of those kinds of experiences and living in a household where I might not feel energetically safe is like to really know what's happening around me. And I would say also I come kind of from like a bird tribe type vibration. Like I'm very bird like. which is also to be able to see things from an objective perspective. And so for my own emotional safety, I've always had a deep awareness of what's happening around me. And I was very sensitive. So I was really into stones, and I could feel like medicine of stones. Like as a kid, I was really into agates, which apparently are about strength. I don't know, but I would just, everyone's different, right? So I could really feel it. And then I met people, well, actually I want to say that my aunt is a doctor and homeopath and has been working with ayahuasca for a long, long time. But I remember as a kid, she used to say like, poison's just a word for strong medicine. And just these blips, I always really looked up to her and Leanna Standish. And she, the story I would say about her on this path is that her mom, with my grandma, was looking for something bigger and she didn't find it. And at some point, I think right around then or after, she discovered or understood something about ayahuasca and had these experiences. And she was transformed by it and saw it as being super helpful. This is when I was a kid, I think. And she bought Terence McKenna's land in 2001. And she's been doing research with ayahuasca, and she's an amazing person and cares deeply to bring the medicine to the forefront and to make it accessible in a good way. And through that and my, I think I've had this natural gift of like listening to the universe and then being able to say it in a way. Is like Terence McKenna, I feel like, was able to articulate things in a particular way that was really remarkable and understandable and interesting, and took people on this journey to understand. He like deciphered, so I can translate some things that I experienced. And I met some really amazing people in my younger years and teenage and 20s who were really into plants. And I remember asking the universe, I'd like to learn about plants. And Tulsi was my first plant that I met. I didn't know what it was or that it was holy basil.
I have to stop you for 1 sec. I'm drinking Tulsi tea right now. Yeah.
I went on a cross-country trip, and I at this farmer's market, there was all these basils, and I was like, whoa, this basil smells amazing. And I took it and I started growing it and learned how to just tend to it and take cuttings and root them. And I was just like, wow, it just woke me up in a way. And I think it's in my blood to work with the plants and bring it to people in a way that's translatable, and that what is not a ceremony. I feel like we're in ceremony all the time. And so yeah, I learned about plants, and I think Tulsi showed me, oh, this other plant and this other plant, and they're all friends. So it's like this united web of connections. Like nothing thrives alone, and there's this camaraderie, and it's like, oh, come here. And then this level of excitement that I feel, that I think I really want to broadcast, that what we're stoked about in whatever particular way it's calling us towards that energy of like, whoa, that's like a form of healing and purpose that I think we're all hungry for. And I definitely feel that with the plants. Like I'm making some there now. It's like, I'm never making the same thing twice. I never really ingest the same thing twice. Right now it's like hawthorn berries and chaga with red pepper as another base for this medicine that's going to be very stimulating, and also like a sexual tonic for people that need that. But it just is life-giving. It's got like sea slug in it from Hawaii that I harvested, and all these other friends.
He's like a mad scientist.
But it's all about listening, right? Actually, I'd say at first, before I started making medicines, I really like sauces, like that I'd put on things. And then I learned that I could combine things in these novel ways that are very accurately express something, like flavor profile wise. And I think that's still, it's when I make medicine, it's like making sauce. And there's it's a lot about listening. I try not to be in the medicine. I'm like I'm here to welcome the unique wisdom that is being made to grow. Even with ayahuasca, it's kind of like taking something from its raw form of these plants and like creating this sacred, quiet, safe space for the teacher to come through. And first it's just an embryo, and then it's like a child, and then it's an adult, and then it's an elder. And once it hits a certain stage, it's going to just do its own thing. But I feel that with most or any medicine that I'm making, that there's like this wisdom keeper that emerges that isn't me or coming from me, but I'm protecting it and stewarding it until it's ready to then inform me more. And then it's a lot about listening and responding. And I just love it because it's a mystery path, but I'm doing it on purpose. So there's like a conscious, willful nature to being in the mystery, which is how I think we live. It's a way of life. And it's just so grateful to people's unique requests for what they want. And then I'm like, wow, I would never have made this otherwise because I didn't have that request. So I'm just in awe of people and where they're at, and that I get to steward any kind of protective, strengthening remedies or energies, and I do channeling too. So it's all kind of wrapped up in the same thing. It's just different. It could be art, it could be the art of medicine, it could be art of speaking, and it's like so alive. So that's what I want to share, and that's why I want to talk with you, and just something about the living word. It's beautiful, and it's not mine, but I allow it. Let's see.
Thank you. Awesome. Wow. Okay. So you guys have come from, big stories and many places to get to where we are now. Okay. So being in the ayahuasca space, either in the ceremony or just in ceremony of life, and all these questions, whoever wants to answer, just go for it. How have you been affected by a life review? Whatever comes, whatever stands out.
Great question. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So a life review, how have I been affected by a life review? That's a great question.
I really like this question.
Yeah, it's like helping me drop in. Actually,
Let's
it's
just
like
tune in for a sec.
it's like a natural there's like a natural life review happening when you say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, let's do that right now.
Yeah, that's a medicine question. Yeah.
Yeah, you should ask people that question all the time.
I think I'm gonna start asking the question.
Because the truth is like when we actually get into that portal of truth, and we're able, there's like this big expansion that's able to happen when we are able to look back. And my view is that we're here for a little while, and we're here to learn these lessons. We have assignments that we have. I feel like actually today at solstice, and this big relational piece just shifted, and it felt like this karmic bigger energy that we were working with. I think I sure we're both going through divorces right now, separations, and so it's like, how do we meet these like personal experiences of being a human in this body, and how do we walk in a way that's in integrity and love, and also as souls that are integrating these bigger pieces as we're evolving, as we're awakening into who we really are. So how there are periods of time in medicine work, definitely, where I've looked back and understood the why of, oh, that's why that happened. Okay. And even the painful parts, or like people that have hurt me or I've hurt, and understanding that all of this on a much bigger level, when we get into that energy of like an actual life review of like the bird watching, the soul watching, we're able to see that it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. The design is perfect. The way that that person showed up in that way, or the abusive partner, or the toxic relationship, or the way that our parents showed up or didn't show up. And it's this, there's a perfection in it of growing our hearts, of growing in compassion, of really learning to witness without like just being the sacred witness. So what I love about ayahuasca is that, like, that's kind of like a regular thing that we get to, you know what I mean? Like, some people have to have near-death experiences for that, but it's like, if you work with ayahuasca, like, it's like, well, oh wow, here we go, you know? And we get to be honest with ourselves. And so when you're really talking about, like, I love the frequency of a life review. It's like to look back at our life and sense, you know, what's the teaching here. Yeah, there's a real beauty to that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. Is there anything, is that,
Yeah.
How
Can
about you add? I'll say something, and then you can add to it, maybe.
okay, were you going to say something?
No, I was just curious if either of you had a story of something
Of a life review?
that came to you that was like a big.
Yeah, I'll share actually. But this is, oh, are you frozen? Oh, it might be my internet.
Oh, you're here.
Hello? We freeze up for a sec? Hello?
Hello.
Yep.
Hi. Okay, we're back.
Okay,
We're back.
Tina has a story.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess what's coming to mind doesn't actually have to do with ayahuasca, but it has to do with being in an all-night ceremony. And my family and I we were working with the sacred fire. And so we were doing a ceremony. It might have been around solstice, actually, which is maybe why it's coming. And it was this, part of the ceremony was keeping the fire up all night, like till the morning. And then we did a closing of the fire. So we started midday, and we sang lots of songs by the water, and we were praying for the land and each other and our ancestors. And then, you know, as the hours went by, we took turns. So people would wake each other up through the night. You know, I do an hour and be like, wake up my friend in the tent. It's like, your turn to watch the fire. And it was this really beautiful teaching of, you know, sometimes when life gets hard, like, you can't stay up. It's way easier to watch the fire all night when you're taking turns. But so much of the time we're like, I have to do it all by myself. And so it was this huge initiation into sacred community and all taking turns tending to the sacred fire. And that's actually the design. And so that night, I had an experience by the fire where I saw, you know, I had gone through all this real hardship with my family, and I'd been in a lot of pain, and I was also in this semi-abusive relationship. There was just a lot of toxicity in our dynamic, and the way that we talked to each other. It was just horrible. You know, it's like, if you've ever been in one of those relationships, they're the worst. So I'm sure some people can relate. And it's like a karmic pattern there. And I had this experience where it's like, I leaned back in and I saw myself as this old woman at the end of my life. And it was like I was so old. And my hands were like so wrinkled and my feet were wrinkled. And I leaned back and I saw this. It was like a fork in the road of where I could go and where I was going. Like it was like, if you keep choosing this way, it was like all the timelines kind of opened up of what I could choose. And that I'd actually on some level been choosing it for lifetimes, this particular patterning. And then there was this energy of the sacred fire and this ceremony that we were in. And I just got to look back at it all, you know, my choices. And I was like watching myself as this like young person, my little kid, all of these things. And I don't know, something happened where I just stopped feeling like a victim to it, where it was like I got to see where the victim energy that I've been carrying for a long time. And it was quite subtle, but I got to witness. And so something quite big shifted, and I forgave all of these people that had hurt me and abuses that had happened. And I just stepped into the knowing that I chose this. And I never would say, you know, I work with a lot of people been through intense sexual abuse, torture. I would never say to them, you chose this. I would never say that to a person. But all I know is that for myself, that when I stepped into the empowered place of, I chose this in its perfection, like I chose this, that something so huge liberated for me that I can't really put into words. Did I freeze? Did the camera freeze? It did.
I'm here. Are we here?
You're here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thank
maybe
you.
you got that, maybe you didn't. But yeah, that was a very profound moment for me. And I really appreciate the question. Thank you. What a great question. That was a long one for me, but
Okay.
yeah.
So, I like that. Thank you. I feel like some people are going to listen to that and it's gonna be like, strike them, you know?
Isn't he so nice?
I
Strikes
remember when I
me.
was like,
Oh,
right?
good.
Yeah.
I remember being 6 or 7. And I think it was the place that I actually fell out of the stroller when I was a baby. I don't remember the circumstances of the hardship, but I remember I did grow up feeling like I was the only human. I had this story that I was the only person on Earth. Everybody else was an alien or a monster. And I remember, and I think what that really means is I didn't feel understood, but I think maybe I'm an alien. That I remember going to this place and crying out for the first time to, I was like, if there's God, like whatever that is, like help. I want support. I remember these, I believe, and I think I'll believe in 10 to 20 years still, that a major communication avenue to the universe and spirit is through emotion, like crying out, but then using that a little bit of willpower with that too, and be like, hey, like help, like, or like, where's the support? Come on, like, and knowing that it's like real and I deserve it, etc. I remember calling out, and then I feel like what was answered in years to come was the answer, and is that I became what I prayed for to come that didn't show up. And I do believe that for most people, and that's something I say a lot, that we're the prayers that we prayed for. We're the answer to that.
I love them.
And because imagine like you now being there when you were having a hard time, nothing showed up. That's exactly what you wanted. So we become what we needed and didn't have. So in a way, there's that struggle is necessary to become the thing that's lacking. It's like a niche filler, the universe like fulfilling its own personification of some energy that does not exist in that area or anywhere. And we're all unique like that. And then the other time that I'm feeling like, so there's a theme here. And I I remember being in Hawaii when I was in my early 20s, and I really wanted to swim in the ocean with the dolphins, but I was scared to go out into deep water. And I was like, I need help. I need some reassurance about sharks and stuff like that. And then what came to me was my older self being like, dude, you're going to be alive at this age. I was like, I'm not going to get eaten by a shark then. So I started swimming dolphins all the time. And my pattern in my life so often, I think it's becoming habitual, right? I do it so much that I don't think about it, but I do think about it. I can do it now. We can do it together. It's just like, thank God I'm here. Thank God for this moment. And what I'm really doing is I'm telling my past self, I'm telling my yesterdays that I made it. This is a good way. You're doing good. Keep following the trail. You're safe, and this is a loving, beloved way to live, and keep doing. You're going great. And I think once it's a muscle, and once a person or myself has habituated that and strengthened that, the future self does that to our present self. So then we are guided. And so I feel like my guidance is from myself, but it's the one that knows me better than I know myself, loves me more than I know how to love myself, is more caring and liberated than I am currently, and eventually is one that has lived my whole life and has passed on and is in an objective place. So sees the big picture. So it's like my connection to spirit is myself. That's beyond. I think this is one articulation of that.
I love that.
Me
So in a
too.
way, this recapitulation and ceremony opening this ability to have that, I've worked so hard to become that, but still I find, I just had one the other day with our friend Shambu. He was holding space for me in this pattern that I have, and because he was holding me energetically, looking at me in ways that I can't see myself, it helped part of me to disengage a little bit and be more objective, and then to really be able to track themes through my life, but also past my life to my grandfather, to my grandmother, to my other grandmother, to my grandfather, to my family, and to see the threads of what I even had the information about that made sense. I just hadn't connected the dots. So ceremony, and the reason we're holding ceremonies or being these people doing sessions, all these things, is so that people that come to us are often people that are caregivers. They're sensitive beings. They're and they're on guard a little bit, and they're on aliens. And they think they have to hold the big picture, like they're holding it for other people, so that when we hold space for you or anyone, then part of you is relaxed that is otherwise engaged, and that amount of energy can be used to see something that you couldn't see otherwise. Because I'm not saying Martine Prechtel talks about this, like that we can't do it alone, and that we can't actually lose our shit. We can't actually break down properly by ourselves because it's unsafe. So we need to be held and have community, have people to love us. So the ceremony setting is that it allows people to go off duty in a way that they can use that energy to look deeply, and then bring that wisdom back, and they were safe the whole time, and they can lose it as much as they need to.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, all the new-ish, Peter Levine's work on the nervous system talks about that as well. Like we can't let go, like it's a primal instinct. I don't know why we're talking about this, but feels like we're traveling into this for a reason, right? And so, and it's kind of goes back even to the teaching of the sacred fire. Like we can't do it alone, and
you don't want to do it alone,
and we're not meant to do it alone. And that, like, literally our body's nervous system can't let go in the same when we feel like we have to do it all alone. And so it's like finding ways, even in this, like we're in dialogue, we're in conversation, we're we couldn't be having this conversation without your vision and coming in this way. It's like there's a sacredness to
And alchemy.
and an alchemy to that, right? This
At
experience.
this exact moment in time, the stars are exactly aligned
And
like
it's
this in the
solstice.
universe. It's like there's no quinky dinks. But my grandfather
Let's like a Kansas talk.
was
We need to talk.
auspicious. And I have one more thing.
Just listen. I feel like just give her a minute.
Okay, man.
Okay. Just so excited.
Oh no, this is so good. A question popped in my mind while Athena was just talking. Actually, you both touched on it, and how we need to feel held and supported for us to let go to a degree to go into some of these deep places. And I sometimes hear from people who say, you know, I'm on this spiritual path and I'm disconnected from my old acquaintances and friends and support because they don't get me now, but I haven't yet found a place for myself where I do feel held. And what kind of things would you say to someone who's in that phase of things?
Yeah. You're excited. Yeah, go for it.
I can say all the things. The hero's journey, right? The hero's journey. To have anything of value to offer the world, we must face some things. And to truly face them, there is this time where we're walking a path that is not walked. And when we are cool, when we strengthen ourselves in that way to like know that it's there's a goodness there, and we become more of ourself, then we meet people that resonate to that. But if I'm this person and I'm not like, haven't worked through some of these bigger things, the person I am, or the person I believe I am, might not be who I actually am. And so the people that are in resonance with that aren't going to be in resonance with me if I do my healing. And there's this sacred, it's like choosing to be alone rather than alone with people that don't understand us is one part. And I just want to finish this other thought too, which is connected to this, that we now, through this technology, through our community, through this time, through this frequency that we're passing through on this planet, we have resources and friends and community that our grandfathers and fathers did not have. And so now we're able to heal these things, and things can only be healed if they come up. The red button has to be pushed. And then we have now these tools, people and community, and the language and the safety to express ourselves in a new old way.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just share that there, and you know, he's talking about the hero's journey. But there are naturally periods of transition. And so those transitional periods are like, we need to normalize them, because when you change, it's just certain, you start to shift your vibrational frequency. So if everything is a song, if the universe is singing us, which is how I like to look at life, like the plants, just working with the plants all these years, each plant has its song. Each tree, this tree above us right now, it has its song, its frequency that it's emitting. And so naturally, and we also do, you know, we're shifting in our frequency, and the earth is changing in its frequency as well. And so, you know, she's also on her evolutionary journey. And so naturally, as we shift from one way to another way, it's kind of like a note that doesn't belong in that song. So there's some dissonance. And so it's very, so you just kind of want to find where there's going to be more alignment and more flow in that energy. So if you're at a particular frequency of like being more, just more walking this path and awakening to your true spiritual nature, and then you're hanging out with people that are still, you know, no judgment of it, but like maybe still like drinking every night and like watching lots of TV and eating junk food. There's no judgment of that. It's just a denser frequency. And so it's going, if you've been in that resonance and then you shift, there's a natural, there may be a sense of loneliness that can come in that. But I would say for people to just trust and have faith and be open to those beings that are going to uplift and be in collaboration and allyship with, and that sometimes that takes time. I know for myself on my medicine path, when I started to leave, old community of like artists and activists that I was in, wonderful people, but I was like really walking the medicine road, and I was like firmly walking on it. And there were moments of being very lonely on the path. And I had to go through that. There's no like bypassing that. And then it's remembering you're never alone. And then when you go into the resonance of, wow, I'm never alone, I'm so supported by the universe, then you can actually open up to find your tribe, your people, your song, the people that and I really believe that we come in on certain waves with certain souls. They say that we I like this saying, it's like you don't make friends, you find them. Like you recognize them, like, oh, you're my friend. Like you don't have to try. There's no like trying, with some people you're like, but it's like with real soul family or like soul recognition, you find each other, but you can't find each other if you don't know yourself. If you haven't found who you are, how can you see that in another being? So the first step is really seeing that, which is within you, loving yourself in that way. And then like then the people come. Yeah.
I have a
So,
lot to say.
okay, well, we'll let Amanda. I think we're kind of hogging we want her to have.
I can do a couple.
One more thing, Jason, what did you have before we switch into anything else? You had something you want to say.
Number one. There's that saying, know thyself. And there's also, I feel like, know thy value. So your time is, you are the value, and your time is what you have, right? This is it. We get this opportunity to have time. Number two is that I used to tell this story that maybe I come from another place or planet, or I was like a dolphin and we all understood each other and we were psychic.
I think you totally were a dolphin.
So that may be, but my new understanding that I like to share is that we're literally surrounded by everything on this planet that understands us possibly more than we do ourselves. And it is psychic, it is communicating. And it's just people that we want to communicate with because we're the same species, but we're the only ones really cut off from that innate ability. And some of it, we can tap into it. Number three is that we're all angels. And sometimes an angel says, I don't like you, go away. And sometimes it says, you're beautiful, stay forever. But they're both giving directions. They're saying where the light of the spotlight of the universe is for you. And sometimes it's not where you are and you're fighting to be in a place you're not actually wanting to be. And the universe is supporting you to go to that place, whether it be come here or go away, but they're both supporting and they're checking in with you. It's really a communication, and it's saying, it's like a check-in. Who are you? How are you? How's it going? All these things. And so I feel, and also the definition of a friend. You were talking about friends and friendship. We have a whole philosophical conversation about what a friend is, because it is really about this part about being an angel with directions and helping us hone that in. There's also a level of understanding. I just met you, Amanda, but I feel like there's an understanding. I don't have to explain myself. We can do something. We're literally, the first time we met, we're building something through this podcast. So building is something friends can do because we don't have to take all of our time to explain ourselves. There's an understanding. And to stand under something bigger, which is an understanding of life and natural law, to be in alignment, then we can build stuff. But if a person comes to me, I want to be friends with them, and there sometimes has to be this, can this person come into alignment with natural order and law, universal governance, and just to connect like that? Because once we can resonate to that same frequency, then we're just building, right? And my love language, I would say, is doing things lately because of just my age and just where I'm at. I just want to do stuff with people. So like, I like practical. This feels so practical, and I'm so grateful to just have a place to share, and that we're witnessed, and we love you, and we love everyone that's listening. And we're just, there's the frequency of friendship is within. And so we can all just resonate to that. And then we also call in that. And then the one last piece is that because the universe is alive and communicating always, and we personally often want to communicate with friends or people, if you just have that want, or you're going through something, you walk through town, you'll have a conversation with somebody, if you open yourself to it, that is exactly, crazily, wildly perfect in exactly what you needed to get. So in a way, they are your beloved in that moment. If you can bring your presence there, it's striking how deep it is. And I feel like this is why we're eating and drinking and taking care of ourselves, is to have these moments to share. This is, like, to me, one of the most important things on earth. And I just want to say that our friend is who we're with also. And we can always be building ourselves up to be our own personal friend in a better way. So it's all practice.
Well, I just had so many chills on my skin when you were saying about that. And maybe either of you share a little bit more about that, because a lot of people want to be in a lifestyle where they're experiencing synchronicities, where they're in the right place at the right time, where, you know, the animal just moves so close to them and they can't, like, these kind of things. And for myself, I've come and gone for years through huge waves of being in that, and then darker nights of the soul, and then coming back up. If somebody wants to be more in what Jason described, and maybe they've never experienced that, or it's been many years since they've been in that frequency, just what are some really practical ways of moving back there?
Go outside. I would just say, you can follow, but I just think there's something about energetic density too. The human mind. So for me, in times I've lived in cities or near lots of people, I find more magic, obvious magic. It's always magic, but the most obvious magic is when more people are asleep. The human mind creates this belief, right? And so going out just in the nighttime, like, 10 o'clock, there's like the veil's a little thinner, or the morning where less people are awake. That's one part. And being in less dense vibrational fields, so in nature, or just around less electricity and roads, but you bring the magic. It just takes more. The more dense the place is, the more subtle your awareness has to be to pick up on the magic. So, which means you have to be there, you have to feel kind of safe and vulnerable. There has to be a sense of vulnerability to open yourself up to this communication. So being in a denser place can be harder for that.
And I'll just say, and that's such a great question, because of course everyone wants to feel that sense of connection. And that's what, when we feel into this frequency of synchronicity, what it does is it inspires this remembering in us that we are all connected. And then we feel more connected to life and the web of life and the heart of life. And then we feel happy and joyful. And we're like, oh, wow, I'm part of something bigger than myself. And that's what we're really looking for, because feeling like a small human that's supposed to be like married with kids and a bank account and a job and go to work and come home and try to find your purpose, try to make a difference, all these things, whatever it is, like this kind of program, it's very isolating and it's very lonely, because it feels like you have to figure it out all by yourself. But our design is actually to work together. and to, you know, we're, in my view, like we are here to help awaken a planet. Like we are on a trajectory of this this evolutionary leap. That's my personal view, that we are amidst of a huge quantum shift that's going to be happening. A shift in consciousness, a shift in the ability to drop into true love and compassion. If you want to take a non-dual view, like just coming into consciousness of this, from like good and evil, and remember, oh, here wow, you're the soul, right? So what was the question again? I totally
How do you come into resonance with the
right.
magic and synchronicity?
Yeah. So and so why I'm talking about that is because consciousness, that part within us, when we're in that deep listening, that's what we sense when we have that synchronicity. So I would say the first step is to remembering that you are a conscious, an awakening being, and that to understand that there is collective programming. He's just getting bit by ants. There's a lot of them. Yeah, that there's this collective programming that really works to keep us asleep. And so I mean, it's all the things that people know, like meditating, but I would say like watch what you put into your body and your mind. Like you watch the news, if you watch like regular mainstream like that energy, then you're going to get that, right? So but everything really is okay. Like, okay, what I do what I do a lot of days is I wake up and I say, today's going to be the best day of my life, and then so I'll use an example, or I do the Course in Miracles practice where I'd say, what would you have me do, God? What would you have me say, and to whom? And I chant that over and over. What would you have me do, God? What would you have me say, and to whom? Or Goddess, Source. You don't want to say that. And you get into this energy of deeper listening, and then you be willing to listen and follow the flow, and be willing to be kind of awkward at the grocery store and strike up a conversation. I was at the grocery store the other day, and I felt my guides come in. They were like, talk to that guy. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a nice tea that you got there. And then he was like kind of awkward with me, and he was like, yeah, it's a good tea. And I was like, so do you like drinking tea? And he's like, yeah, I like drinking tea. And then and then I was like, yeah, so how's your day going? And then we start talking, and sure enough, he's actually on my email list, and he's been wanting to come to ceremony with me for years. And we start talking, and we have this beautiful interaction, and we drop into this beautiful space, and then we hug and laugh, and it was so sweet, but I could have just stayed at the grocery store aisle and been like that. When that voice came in and said, start talking to that guy, I could have just been quiet and done what he, and then he was awkward with me, and I could have just mimicked his awkwardness and been like, oh, well, he doesn't like me. But I was like, well, whatever, and have a listen. So I guess the big thing is what's coming to me right now for whoever's meant to listen to this is, don't be afraid to like step out of the molds. And that mold can be very strong, but that mold really is just our ego that's trying to stay safe. But if we want to have the magic, we have to be willing to step out of the box. Yeah. Is that, you want to add anything?
I also just wanted to
You're
say,
like so good at that. He makes friends with everybody.
I love
everywhere
that.
you go.
The reason that happened in my life, I think I had a natural ability to do that. But one time I had a lucid dream, and there was a beautiful woman sitting on a bench, and I knew I was dreaming. I walked up to her, and I got nervous, and I walked away, and then I woke up from the dream. I was like, what a waste. I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Just because somebody's beautiful or I feel awkward. I love to, because that's my jam. You're like, that's magic, right? You're having like a bit of courage, and you're
Mhm.
trusting your intuition. I mean, something I like to do, I don't necessarily say it like this, but the idea is the same. I'm looking at you and I think this might be the only time I'm ever going to see you in my life. And what would I say to you? What needs to be said to you? What's the obvious thing?
Mm.
And that there's like a certain kind of not urgency, but like there's like a need, like
There's a sacredness
there's
to
a
it.
sacredness that only I can be, that I can participate in that moment. But also what you're talking about, the sacredness, you call it synchronicity or auspicious nature of the universe. You can also ask yourself, if you're listening, what isn't that? Like, where is this sacred, auspicious thing not happening? Because honestly, it's happening everywhere all the time. And it could even be on the news or some like dumb TV show or a book you're reading.
That's true.
I find it everywhere and I have really good timing with that. But
Yeah, we argue about that sometimes.
a person might need to have an actual prayer in their heart about wanting to see that, and also the ability to kind of ask for good timing, because timing and placement in this world is very important. And so just having the want and just the wherewithal to dedicate a little bit of energy and awareness to like, I'm in this frequency, I want to experience this kind of thing in the world. Now I should go. Like, and following the intuition and the body's wisdom with actual movement and direction, right? There's
It also just requires an openness. And so what happens is that people, through their traumas and pains and being shut down or trying to be open, and then other people not meeting them in the way that they may want, they can close down and shut down. And so it's just recognizing where there's that contraction, and then where there, it's like, okay, am I contracted? Do I feel safe? Do I feel afraid? Okay, how can I soften? How can I open up? I'm safe here. And to walk as though we are blessings in the world. So if you go, it's like if you go to a friend's house and you're just thinking about what you can get. So a lot of us, it can be kind of programmed into us, like, I'm going to get this synchronicity. I don't know, whatever. It's just like thinking about what you can get. But if we can shift into an energy of how can I give and serve and be a blessing. And what I find is that when I go to places or new places and I just come into the energy of I'm a blessing and I'm here to bless wherever I am, bless whoever I'm meant to bless, and serve and be in service, that magic tends to come in that way. And then we get to share in this relational space, and I often will find my people because they're often blessing as well, or um or maybe somebody really needs support, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be like, I don't know what to say. It's just, I guess, where I'm going with that, it doesn't mean like a martyr, not in that kind of energy, but to just because I'm actually quite protective of my energy, because then I can serve in greater capacity, is what I find. Yeah. Okay, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm starting to ramble a little.
Oh no, Athena said softness. And then way earlier, Jason, when you were talking, you mentioned your near-death experience, one of them being underwater, and you said the word surrender. And I talk to near-death experiencers sometimes on my channel and read about others. And one really common theme is surrender. They're in a really traumatic situation, and then there's a letting go, there's a tipping point, and then they come out of their body. They get all this kind of thing happen. Yeah, does either of you want to share any personal experiences where that tipping point of surrender happened and then everything opened up, either in ceremony, life, anything?
You have such good questions.
Oh, thanks.
That's my favorite.
It's a great question. Yeah. Let me tune into that.
Just a really quick one. I just remember I was safe, but I was in the passenger seat and got into a car accident. And I just remember how slow everything became, that it felt like minutes, but it was like less than a second, probably. It was maybe 2 seconds. I like this time dilation stuff. And then on a safe note, I had an awakening through prayer and heartbreak. I think heartbreak is often a gateway to having the heart being open, to have space. And for all or any of you experiencing a heartbreak right now, the medicine of heartbreak, one of the major features is it forces you to be present. Because if you're thinking about the past or the future, it hurts because there's stories that aren't true anymore, or things are not working out that way, or you missed the thing. It forces you to be present. So the alchemy of awakening, I think sometimes is through a level of awareness of how important it is to be here. And when I had my awakening, I had like 3 or 4 days. It was after I went through the 4 winds, and I had met my teacher, Don Francisco, who he just came out of in Joshua Tree. He just walked out of it was like dusk, and it just kind of felt like he was a shadow. I thought he was a ghost, but I knew he was nice. And he walked up to me and he shook my hand and said something in Quechua, like a blessing. And I just knew who I was, and I could see like between the lines of reality. And then a week after I finished the 4 winds, I had 3 or 4 days of the whole universe was just within arm's reach, and I never left my space. And everything that I talk to, I'm talking to you, but you exist right here in my universe. And I could see energy, and there was a level of like, I could just cry thinking about how much I love people, or I just like see like lights at nighttime of houses and be like, oh my God, there's people there. And and this level of vulnerability, and like, this is the most precious moment. I think this is the alchemy of a deepest awareness and awakening. I also, when I was 22, smoking a lot of pot, but I was not smoking pot at this day, and 2 big guys were yelling at each other, and I was just sitting in the middle, and I jumped out of my body, and I had amnesia for about 10 hours. I have brief memories of seeing myself about 8 to 10 feet behind myself. I couldn't make new memories. I thought I was 21, and I ended up calling my mom, and then I went to the hospital. They gave me a spinal tap when I was coming out of it. And so that was pretty traumatic, but it was it was like it was like an awakening that kind of got shut down a bit. And you know, I'm still like in that that's still like a striking thing for me. So I think I'm still working through that, feeling safe to be out of my body at times, to have that skill, because I lived outside of my body, and that was actually because of that, and that whole kind of trauma of spinal tap that brought me into my healing path more deeply. So it was like, get in your body. Like, I learned Vipassana meditation. I had this woman, Kathleen Granderson, my doctor at the time. She was doing Raphaelite healing, which is like putting hands on the body in different places, sending energy, and then the person would I would speak what's coming up. And I realized that I had never been in my body for the last several years, since my grandma died, like below my neck. And so then I was always out, and so I got into my body. And
Can I add something?
yeah.
So, and I feel like what you're touching on is really important, because what can happen with these really big spiritual experiences there can be a disassociation and an inability to integrate. So even with, I'm sure if you've read a lot about it and you've had a near-death experiences, it's quite common for people with NDEs to have hard time coming back in. And it's the same with people that have had awakening experiences of like meeting God and coming into the oneness, and then coming into this separation of like, here I am in this body. And so it's learning to navigate. It's like Joseph Campbell talks about how the mystic swims joyfully in the same waters that the schizophrenic drowns in. And it's like it's like finding the skills and the tools to be able to swim these waters of the psyche of the universe, and not be drowning in it, and so it's like not skipping ahead as well. And so it's like poco y poco. It's like the amount of light coming into our bodies as well. We want to be able to calibrate. One of my friends who teaches Andean shamanism, he talks about how we are made of so much light, but if we actually open to the amount of light that we are all at once, we would explode. We would actually fry the circuit and we would explode. And so it's calibrating ourselves to be able to contain that much more light and on these higher frequencies amidst the density of Earth, and can kind of feel it. What's really nice about this conversation is what I'm observing is that it's like the field is opening up, and we're unplugging from a particular matrix belief system, and we're opening into a new belief system that's much more expanded. One with synchronicity and the magic and following our spirit's aliveness.
I want you to just say, I have to check my medicine I'm making, but would you talk about this thing about when we had talked about what our capacity for light is, like where remember in Cedar, it was like we were doing like what your like your highest vibration and wealth and wellness and brightness, that there's like, is there a place where you're limiting
the upper limit pattern? He's just making some medicine. That's Jason. He's always got like, I gotta go check the medicine.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I've been talking a lot. Do you want to share a lot? Do you want to share a little bit? Like what's your experience with? Yeah.
No, something you just said. What about the contrast? So for me, the near-death experience that I had was in 2017. And coming back from that, at first it was quite magical. Everything was very synchronistic, and I didn't feel any pain in my body. I saw the best version of everyone around me. So even people that I didn't even like that much, I just saw them as, so special. And, looking back, I actually thought that the rest of my life I was going to live like that, because it had been going on for 6 months, and then 7 months, then 8 months. But then when real life kind of came back in, that contrast, and it's still to this day, to be honest, like it's still not all the time, but it's kind of like in my back pocket. And knowing that, well, for me, from my direct experience, that when I'm outside of the body, I'm me. When I'm inside of the body, I'm me. But when I was outside of the body, I had left behind all the pieces that were shadowy and forgetful and neurotic and all these things. And I had reunited with the higher version of myself and all the higher versions of all the rest of us up there, where we all know each other, and where we all see each other for just our intentions and not for our behaviors. And how, like Jason, I think it was Jason was talking about that, higher aspect, looking down and knowing that everything down here is perfect, but the version of us that is down here doesn't always remember that. And many of us, if we haven't had some of these experiences, this is all that we know and experience. So so for me, that contrast is always kind of there, and it can get really difficult. And the only remedy that I've found is service. The only remedy that I've found so far is stepping into, even if it's just like a little bit of a gift or a little bit of an ability, and putting as much energy into that as I can and calling it purpose, even if it's for the day. Because other than that, it's almost like, well, it's kind of hard to be here. So that's been my experience with the contrast of those really peak. Yeah.
That's amazing. I so appreciate you highlighting that. And I feel the same way. And I really feel it's because we're actually wired for it. Like it's part of our cosmic assignment to be in service. And so because, being self-absorbed and selfish and like just taking care of, I mean, we want to take care of ourselves. We want to love ourselves and, but service is a way to transmute and transform and and like step into that willpower of, oh yeah, I have these. I love how you said it, even like a gift, just a little gift. And then it's like fanning that fire. And that's a really powerful thing. Yeah. Because we all were given these gifts. We came with gifts to share. We came with gifts to share. And so when we can actually attune to the knowing that only we can share them because they're within us. And so there's the way that we share these things, we're so wired to compare and be like, well, that person does it better, or, I don't, we get into that story. But when we can understand on the deepest level, as in the universe playing this beautiful song, that we have that note to add to the song that only we can add. And then we get to really actually, wow, my life is actually so important and such a sacred gift. And then it's also being like, and it's not important at all. It's like this joke.
Yeah.
So it's like, take off the pressure as well. Like there's no urgency. Because then it's like, well, I have to do it. It's like, no, it's not like that. It's like both at the same time. It's kind of a wild thing. And we have a hard time with paradox as like our brains are like, I just don't understand how it can be that way. But that's the way it is.
I can say, I like this question. And I just want to say about service, especially. I never said this, but I'm feeling like saying service, the ability to be of service is our opportunity to step out of our little self and into what we really are, which isn't, I'm saying this in the moment as I'm throughout this conversation, I'm making effort to not be Jason. Like I'm being present, right? Like I'm being this, where the awareness where I am, the location of my awareness, I'm relating what this location of the universe is seeing and experiencing. So I'm not, this is why I could talk for hours and in front of an audience or friends or whatever, because it's not me. Like I don't feel like I'm saying, I'm trying to get out of the way so that something can come through. So I'm a steward of the energy that I want in the world. And the opportunities I have to share it through speaking it or being present with somebody, sharing gifts, these are all service aspects. And it's my opportunity. It's like working all this time to have something of value that's inside, the ability to get out of the way, honestly, and working that like a muscle. And then when I do it, it's like I have no pain, I have no suffering, I have no stories. The story is I'm here and I love you, right? The story is thank God we're right here. Thank God. And
I just want to say to add is that this is we all are designed this way.
Exactly.
We're all designed this way. So
We're examples.
we all have this ability within us to put ourselves aside. And so it's being really compassionate to the one that wants to hold on, the false self, if you will, the one that wants to hold on. And so it's like, how can we, so we might get into these states of deep awakening and bliss and connection with the universe. And then there are those hard days that happen. And it's like, can we still amidst that have both, like recognize like, okay, there's this construct, this ego, not to make it small. It's like, here I am.
It's a contraction.
And then there's the divine one within that is also here, always shining. And it's easier said than done. But it's kind of, I feel it's happening right now while we're here. Like because where we put our energy, like we're talking about this. So where we put our energy, our attention goes, and then our energy goes, and then we set. So this is also a tool to keep our focus, our gaze to what it is that we want. Yeah. So I don't remember the question, but we were talking about service.
Yeah.
And so this is where like the greatest service really is to know yourself and be yourself, the true self. And so when we really tap into that, but in order to know the self, we may need to be in service. They're both connected. Do you see? So you being in service, Amanda, in the ways that you are being in service to the world, to sharing your gifts, to loving people, to being just showing up the way the universe wants you to show up, is going to be the doorway to the self that is here. Yeah. This my view. I don't know. I also don't know anything.
Yeah. What you said about I'm not going to get the words exact, but you said something like basically about not being attached. So we're doing our purpose. We're trying to step more into our gifts, whether they're big or small. And it's so important because it's like a gateway. But then it could also dissolve tomorrow and we'd still be fine. If we,
Yeah.
And then it's just fun.
Yeah. Then it's just fine.
There's this other element too, that it lasts forever.
And then it also could last forever.
The resonance of every thought and action and experience resonates throughout the ethers and universe and multiverse, if there is, forever.
Yeah.
So it's like we're always broadcasting, right? So it's like, what are you broadcasting? And the more that we broadcast, the easier it is. It's the 100th monkey thing. It's like, oh, it's cool.
And we're getting closer to the 100th monkey. Like that's the reality. Like we can sense it. We're getting closer. Yeah.
And what
this
Jason
is a part
was,
of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh no, I just thought of something when Jason was saying how it resonates out and it's a forever thing. I remember in one ceremony, and I might have talked about this in one of my other videos, but it was all the higher selves, like forever going up, 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 up. But you could recognize the people. I could just think of someone and zone in. Okay, there's Athena, for example, and you were recognizable by your face. But even more so, there was like these kind of like, and maybe you guys have seen this, like glowing tattoos or like glowing glyphs that were on, and everybody had very different ones, and they were telling the story of like ideas and thoughts and actions and creations that we'd made in our lives, and in that out of the body, out of time experience, like Jason was saying, out of time, it was like it's all recorded. It can be looked at, probably through the Akashic records or anyway. It's a forever thing. Like we're never going to lose any of these things.
Oh,
I have a funny story about death.
I love that.
Okay.
I just want to say, I totally have had the same experience of seeing the glowing tattoos in ceremony.
I haven't yet, I don't think.
Oh, well, there you go. Something to look forward to.
I like to tell, I think the first medicine is storytelling. The stories that we tell is like, that's why, religion and stuff like that is so big, because it's like, I think it's better to have your own story, but because that encases the universe that we live in. And so telling stories about death or life is really fun. So one of the stories I tell myself that seems like medicine is, what if I die and then I relive this life again exactly the same way, over and over and over again, forever and ever? So I'm not saying I believe that story, but it's a story that is medicine for living a good life, so that I could relive it past and forward and be like, and maybe it's more about the vibrational field that I am emitting, because it's not like, oh, make it just a harmonic, thing the whole time, but the inner harmony, like to travel through not the experiences, but what's coming out from me. If I was just going through it, recapitulating it, but only through how I was believing things to be, and the feelings I was emoting, and so I think there's something about storytelling in a way that brings like an awareness to how potent it is to be here. And that anytime that we have this opportunity, if you're listening later or you're here now with us, it's like we're dropping into this frequency of awareness, presence, humbleness, gratitude, like
Love.
these, and love, and these, and all the other unsaid good things, and entering into this state is a service. So service starts with you, inside deepest part of you. And because when you remember your value and your what it all is, we remember that actually in the most subtle states we're affecting the field the most. So even like Tai Chi or Qigong, like the small movements, you come into awareness of the more subtle vibrations, which is a way to come into like that synchronicity, etc. And through that awareness is physical, and then going into like the deeper, slower physical sensations and movement in the body. And then beyond that is the emotional, energetic places of movement, and being aware of those. And at that state of awareness, we then, with our will, can broadcast that in a way that is like, it's like the equivalent of many people meditating at the same time on peace or something like that. But it starts here. And I think that instigates other people to remember to tune into that also. So even without speaking or planning it or whatever, all of a sudden we have a coalition of brothers and sisters, humans and plants and animals and insects, reverberating this frequency, because it's like a place of rest. Like energy always goes to its lowest natural state, and this is the highest natural state in the most relaxed place that things can. It's the frequency of life. Honestly, I think it's the frequency of life.
Well, and I think what you're really pointing to is to also remember that we can influence the world around us through our vibrational state. And so we may be doing a lot of invisible work by doing the deep inner work and affecting, creating more peace in families and homes and in the land around us by simply being in that. I used to go, I remember when I lived on Salt Spring Island, I lived there for 1 year. I just finished my years in Peru, and it was like a really intense time of like leaving my community that I loved, and the beautiful indigenous grandmothers that I worked with, and organizing circles in my work there. And I was like so heartbroken leaving Peru. Like it was like a lover, like the love of my life. Like I loved those mountains so much. And I would go, so I was like, I felt like it was like a breakup. when I left Peru. I can't explain it. Like I cried every day and I would think about it and dream about it. I'm like, oh, but my partner at the time didn't want to live there. And I was like, okay, let's move, fine. And so we were living on Salt Spring Island. We chose that island. And I would, when I was like going through this heartache of like coming back to North America and even speaking English, I was like, I want to speak English. I want to talk to my Quechua friend. My Spanish isn't even very good. But, I just was like, I would drive to one side of the island. Like I'd go on these drives and I'd drive to the whole other side of the island, this 25-minute drive. And I would stop right in front of this vineyard where I don't know why, I just would always stop and I would sit in that place. And then I would start to feel so much better. And I would start to feel myself again. I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm on the path. And then sure enough, I find out that that's actually that place where I would go was where Eckhart Tolle would go. And that was like his like little secret spot where he would meditate. So I could feel his energy field, right? And so his energy field what was he doing? Being present. He's just being present. And there I am. I don't know anything about him, but I would just go and stay outside of this, wherever he was. And so when we remember that we actually have the impact to create a vast energy field around us that can bless so many people around us when we actually get into those states. So then when I found that out, I was like, wow, like how epic is that I just, but also that I also can do that, and that you also can do that, and Jason can do that, and that we can do that for the bigger, and maybe I don't have a big as energy field as Eckhart Tolle, but I still have the power to create more love and care and medicine and seeing people in their highest expression. I can do that and help people remember who they are. Yeah. And we were talking, yes. This is such a great talk. Yeah.
This is one other thing I just thought at the beginning, we were touching on prayer. We opened with a prayer, and then Jason was talking about prayer and having that emotional calling out to the Great Spirit when we need something, but bringing in will. And this is something that unfortunately I don't hear it too much in the spiritual community, in the New Age community especially. They just kind of drop that part off, but it's so important to have a strong will. And obviously in ceremony, like that's a big piece that we need to use sometimes. You want to talk a little bit more about prayer? Like, I love when you talk about prayer.
Yeah. And maybe we can close our time in a prayer. I kind of receiving it'd be nice if you closed in a prayer. Would that be good? Do you want to talk about prayer? You want me to? Okay. What do I want to say?
What isn't prayer?
Yeah.
I think we're always praying, and we're just not sometimes aware of what we're praying for. And sometimes the intensity or the volume of it can be changed, but it's always on. Some people think meditation is a time for listening, and prayer is a time for speaking. And I don't think it has to be exactly like that, but we're always praying. I think everything's always praying. Maybe we live in a prayer universe. Maybe it's a field of prayer. And some of the prayers are louder than others. And so the whisper prayers we can overlook in ourselves and others, but there's always a prayer happening, right? The plants are praying for the sun. They're praying for water. They're praying for nutrients. We do some similar things on the most basic levels, but there's also a prayer to have, whether or not we know it, to have purpose. That hunger for purpose and action, vitality. You know what you're praying for when you don't have it, right? And you know what you prayed for when you just got it. But then we get used to everything so quickly. It's like that bath water that if you're completely still in, you warm it up to a couple inches from or an inch at least from your skin, and then it becomes normalized, and then you have to move again to even feel that there's water there. So this is how the brain works, I think, too. It really is taking in, it's dedicated mostly to what's new, and puts everything sensory wise and other things that it got used to within a few minutes or hours in the back of the head. And then it's like all about what this next thing, like this nuanced type awareness. And so sometimes we make prayers and forget about them, and then when they come to us, we say no thank you. And I think that's confusing for the universe, but we're also, it's okay to be like learning, because there's also that gypsy curse, may you get what you want. Because so often we go through these different stages where we have to first know ourselves, because then we can actually be asking for what we want. Because at first we just need to ask, please help me to get to know myself, and show me my gifts that are for me and for others. And please show me what I should pray for. Like these are humble, honest ways. When you're helping somebody, you're in a position to like assist somebody, sometimes just asking, please help me know what I should pray for. Just getting really fundamental, really simple, because there's always prayer being made, right? We're always and if we're not praying, something in us, whether it be bacteria or whatever, it's like, I'm praying for sugar. There's always something, right? There's always, you could call it hunger. Desire could be called hunger, or aversion could be like, something else. And it's complex and simple at the same time. And
Yeah, and I'll just share that, I grew up praying. I grew up in very spiritual community, and I with the church, and my family. I grew up as praying as a child, and so there, like, I love what Jason's saying about the prayer, like when are we not praying? And for me, what I'll say is prayer is kind of like a conversation with, it's like a way to step into relationship with the unseen. It's a way to step into and create relationship, because we are the answered prayer. We are being prayed into this moment, and yet the action of prayer, of praying, of acknowledging this universe that we are a part of, that is listening to us and communicating with these subtler realms, with the plants, with the animals, with our guides and our helpers, and being in dialogue with them, it can create a friendship. And so what I find in my personal journey of being in prayer is it's a way for me to feel that sense of friendship and communication to the universe, to God, to Goddess, to Source, and to feel that, and like a friend, and to feel that I'm in a friendly universe. It's like, it's a friendly place. We got your back. It's like that. So yeah, that feels and I would say the best prayers are the ones that say thank you. Yeah, the ones that are rooted in gratitude and appreciation for the gifts and the suffering and the pain and the teachings that are coming through. And that these prayers, when we drop into the energy of gratitude, thank you, these are the most powerful prayers. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just had something come to mind, and then it would be really nice if you could close us out with a prayer.
Yeah.
About gratitude. I remember I was yeah, I've totally forgot about this, but I was sitting in a ceremony and I was in a really dark spot, and I was trying to ground into the earth, and then I was trying to use my will, and then I was trying to surrender, and all of my tools were just not working. And then I remember just putting my my hands in prayer to my chest, and not even praying out a request, but basically being like, I pray. I pray and I'm grateful. And then boom, it just like it shot, everything just turned to light. Like on an energetic level, it was so obvious. And in day-to-day life, obviously, like we don't see the consequences of being gratitude in 1 second like that. But I know it's real. What you're saying is real.
Love that, Amanda. That's so beautiful. Yeah, and I often tell people, like, if you're having a hard time in ceremony, say thank you. Thank you can be the doorway to, you're in the depths of hell at the river of the dead in ceremony. Say thank you. Say thank you. And see how it can open a whole new realm. And it's like, where do we put our attention, right? We can put our attention into the shit and all the stuff that's not going right, or we can say thank you. Jason always says that. He's like, thank God that this is happening. And I really appreciate that. So yeah, why don't we close
I
it
just have
there?
one
Yeah.
more quick thing.
Okay.
Whatever we meet, for me, on the beginning of my journey, when I met some beings that are just can hold the earth in their hand, and they were paying attention to me, and they were loving me, I felt like so unworthy of that at first. And I later found out that they're my brothers and sisters, and I'm part of their family, and I'm that big. So sometimes we're shown who we are because we're possibly parts of everything. So anything that comes to you, you are that, and that nothing's greater than you, but you can remember how great you are. So everything's a reminder of how low and how high you are, and that the more we can work to be grateful and pray that we remember that, and that we are the earth. We spend our whole life putting the earth into us and water and releasing it back to the earth. She is us, we are her. She gets to walk through us, with us, on herself in this place. There's this idea of separation is only humans have it, I think. And so when we pray to remember, when we pray to, sometimes I think one of the greatest prayers is just to see you, see the land, see the planet as it is. Because I have a unique, you have a unique, we have a unique perspective on it that only we have. So it gets to see itself in a way it hadn't before, which is one of the best blessings, I think, to see ourselves. See, if you see me a little bit differently than anybody else, and I'm catching that, then I'm getting to know myself better. So you're actually adding to the greatest gift that there is to give, I think. One of the greatest. So the prayer, and I guess I'm connecting prayer and blessing together because they're active, right? Even like forgiveness is an aspect, but it feels very human. I like to just go right for the blessing, which is like just, there's just light coming from me to you. It's not about the story at all. It's just boom, love. Like you go, compersion. This word compersion means to, I feel good when you feel good, or I'm cheering you on when I'm it's the opposite of jealousy. And that with blessing and prayer, mindfulness, awareness, like what else is there? That's my shtick. that I'm working on.
Thank
every
you for
day.
that huge bomb of skipping over forgiveness and just going to blessings. That's kind of like,
Yeah,
that's a big one. Thank you.
yeah. So like the Ho'oponopono song, I sing it. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me and thank you, bless you. Ho'oponopono, 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 Ho'oponopono. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me and thank you, bless you, bless you. Yeah, this is important.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll end in a prayer,
Yeah.
or you said open the directions, or just a general prayer.
I don't know. What do you feel?
I'll just say something.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can add to it. So how's that? I'll
Okay.
start.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for inviting us into this harmonic space that perhaps lasts for many, many, many years, that is accessible to us and others. Thank you for being who you are and having such a special awareness and humbleness and power to activate and bring community and be who you wish was in this world.
Mm.
Thank you, Athena, for your magic and your gifts and your awareness and your strength and your courage and your gifts that you share so effortlessly and to so many people and myself too. Thank you for my life, and thank you for this day and my family and the sacred medicines,
Mm.
for this breath, for great spirit, Wanka Tonka, Wida Kocha, you who have 1,000 names and move through us in all the beauty ways, that you are everything and that we get to be here. This sweet opportunity that we get to be the living ones. We get to be the candles lit, the fire that burns, that our ancestors can warm their hands by, that they applaud us and they thank us for all that we're doing and all the work that we're doing that they couldn't do. And we thank them for all the work they did and that they did their best. And that we're here also in part because it wasn't meant to be finished, that life, there's no cure for life, that we're so grateful that we get this living wheel opportunity and this sacred Pachamama earth, Gaia, living being that gets to have us here, and we get to be here with her. And we get to eat from her, and she gets to nourish us and all of our relations, all of our ancestors, and all of the beings in the future, all of our relatives in the future, all the future generations, that we are stewards as best as we can. And we're learning to be great stewards of ourselves, to tend to this sacred earth that is our body. And that we also learn through that to take care of this big earth, that she's fine. We're just trying to help the people take care of her in a good way. To have some awareness, to grow in our awareness and our gratitude for the waters that run through all of us, the sacred heartbeat, that the spirit of water, we thank you for all the waters in our body and all the bodies that are living, all the places that you live on this planet, and all the places you live in the universe, in the stars, all the possible water that will be, all the asteroids with water, all the planets with water, all the beings with water in the universe. The spirit of water, we thank you. And because we contain you, sacred water, we influence all that is with water, that we can reverberate this way, that our words and our actions expand through time and space, sound waves and frequencies that bring harmony to the waters of all, everywhere. That our life is our prayer, and our prayer is our life. And we welcome ourselves home to these bodies where they are, and to the big, big body that exists, that holds the earth in our hands. And we get to bless ourselves and all the beings here, that we are the ones we waited for, that we prayed for, and that we listen to our future self guiding us, saying, come this way. Don't be afraid. Open your heart. Be yourself. Share yourself. Thank you for this opportunity, and bless every one of you who is the sacred web of life that unites us all. That every one of us has this gift of life right now. May we learn to use it and pray to understand what it is and how to share what is sacred, and to be humbled by reality, and to be a good storyteller of what we wish to be, that we believe. Thank you, all the beings, all the supporting beings, that we are pillars of light walking on this planet, holding and channeling the light of other places here, that this is our home, that we nourish the earth through our beings, through our awareness, guide the light through her and up to other places, that we love each other, and we are so grateful for this time.
Great mystery, the universe that loves us so much on this solstice day. We say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the gift of this life, for this moment, for each being here, that whoever may watch this, for our sister Amanda, for all the beloveds in our life. We say thank you for the gift of what it is to love, to learn how to love, to open our hearts, to learn what true love is, and that this whole universe is made of love. We were carved from love, and that this is our home, that this is what we come from, and that this is what we will return back to. We ask for the remembering, the memory within us to open to the truth that is ever present, to be able to receive the blessings of this love that is showering down upon us all the time. It is only us and our beliefs and our traumas and our limited ideas and structures that stop the flow of being able to receive the constant gifts pouring down upon us. And we pray that we can open ourselves up into that receptive energy to receive the blessings of this love that is ever present and all encompassing all the time. And I'm just going to sing a little song with this prayer of love for us three here and for anybody that hears it. And I ask that the great mystery sing through me, and only that which is of love and higher is welcome to be sung through in this moment. And a love song for the earth and the stars. Mama. Mama quiera Lumini Memoria antigua Betacano mabuki Betacano mabuki Betacano mabuki Universal Wonka donka Wonka donka Iki di pade Camino ya kapenbo Kapen Kapen Di 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 Los ancestros que escayan, guardians que escapó, animales sagrados que escayan. Oh yo ya, oh yo ya, Visti, Pachamama, Mabatika, no ya rao, Bibo, no ya rao, Bibo. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, so grateful for you guys. Wow, what a special solstice surprise.
It was. Thank you so much for having us, Amanda. Yeah, so grateful.
This is really amazing.
If
Perfect
anyone
way to
wants,
spend the day.
yeah, this perfect way is my night here. So I would love to, if anyone wanted to do a session with either of you, I'm going to I'll get your links from you, and I'll be putting those in the description for anyone who's watching this and wants to connect with these guys. Yeah.
We love loving
Yeah.
people.
We do.
Yes. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. I know you're in good hands.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, sister. Bless you in all the ways.
Okay.
I think what you're doing is really important.
Thanks, Jason. You guys too.
I can feel you like
Yeah, she's a big energy.
stewarding like to more humans what is needed, and for yourself too, that you get to like Yeah, I feel like you're living
He's
quite
basically saying
accurately.
you're epic.
Yeah,
Aw, thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop the recording here.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.